Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Gospel of Two Wheels, where the coffee's hot, the bikes are sometimes in pieces, and your comments are absolutely ridiculous. It is good to see everybody here. We got Jason Roberts, Buck Yasaws, Cub Moto, Rich Pierce coming in. Are you on your way to work, my man? 5280 James is here. Looks like we are live on Facebook finally. My software has not been doing that, so hopefully that's working all good now. It's great to see everybody here. It's super rad to be back. We missed last Thursday because we were camping and riding for the 4th of July and hanging out with friends and family. So sorry about that, but we are back and ready to rock. Make sure that if you are watching this live or if you're watching it later, that you hit the thumbs up, you share this with some friends, you get the word out. We're trying to grow this channel to 100,000 subscribers. I do not know what I'm going to do when I get to the 100,000 subscriber mark, but I will do something super rad. I'm probably still not going to fight Zach. Let's be honest. I'm scared of getting hit in the face. So, Roger Hurd, good morning. I heard that it was going to be 115, it was like Phoenix is going to be like 118. That's gnarly. Brandon T, what's going on? Cub Moto is already at work. Nice work, my man. Scott Phillips, how's it going? It was great to be here. We are going to have Mr. Woody B. Pierce / Brian Pierce coming in at some point today. I believe he is in the shower right now. We were texting back and forth about a question that I thought would actually make a really good discussion for today. So stay tuned. Stay with us. We're going to do it. In the meantime, ask me whatever question you want to hear. Random Rants coming in from Australia. What's happening, my man? Sandy Smith, good morning. There's my mom. Good morning, Mama. I love you so much. Make sure you say hi to my mother right now. If you're watching, in the chat, say, hi, Suzanne. Hi, Mom. Hello, Mom. Say something, or I'm going to send her to your house, and she's going to punch you in the face. Just saying. That's how it works. So make sure you say hi to my mom, because she's awesome. And then, let's see. So, a quick, until you guys are asking me questions, quick news. Thursday night ride is going to be rad. We're heading to State Straw. We're going to ride dirt bikes in the mountains. It might be rainy. I don't know. It was super stormy and thundery. I think that's a word. Thundery this morning. It's not raining yet, I don't think. But anyway, it's going to be awesome. We're going to have a ton of fun. I have a light on my motorcycle. So if you show up, be prepared to go longer than you might not. Anyway. Like I said, I got a big, nasty, badass light on the WR, and I'm not afraid to use it. That doesn't mean that you have to have a light to come on the ride. Please don't think that. It just means that I might keep riding. So, and you might want to pay real close attention to the timing. 58 James saying hi to my mom. Kane, I have been trying to do some awesome rides. Right on. Awesome. I'm glad you've been doing some awesome rides. And it sounds like you got a new drone too. I got a new drone. Really excited about the Hover Air. That thing so far has been really cool. Zach Farcash, what's happening, man? I saw your email. I apologize I haven't gotten back to you. It's been a little bit crazy. Zach's back. My Zach. So I will get back to you next week, and we'll figure out a time to get the rest of that stuff done. Kenneth Keller, what's happening, man? God bless you. 117 in Phoenix. That just sucks. So are you bringing another tech since you're open Monday? Not yet, 5280 James. Right now, what's happening is that that is the goal. But right now, what's happening is Zach and Leandra work Monday through Friday, and then I work Tuesday through Saturday. This is what's going on. Kenneth Carter saying hi to my mom. Nice. So anyway, Thursday night ride, State Straw, 5:45. That's when we're meeting. It's going to be awesome. Can't wait. We're going to leave here at 5. If you're in town and you want to ever ride with us on a Thursday night, you need to be at this shop ready to drive away from it at 5 sharp, because I leave at 5, sometimes 4:58, but almost never 5:01. I'm always on the road by 5. So if you would like to ride with us, which that is open to everyone, anyone and everyone that wants to come and ride, that is the time to ride with us. Or you can book a trip with us with Enduro Ranch. But I do not have time to just go ride on weekends with people. And sorry, that's family time. So anyway, Let's see. Oh, also, finally, the KTM is getting picked up this weekend. Super, super excited. He is on his way here Friday. It's going to be rad. We're going to have a ton of fun. Obviously, going to be filming that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Super excited about that. Let's see. Dave Brayman, what's happening, my man, up in Wyoming? I bet the weather's not too terrible. I bet Cheyenne area is kind of hot. Let's see. Kenneth Keller says it's still raining in Tennessee. Let's see. Yeah, I can't wait till I get it because you got the DJI Neo, right? Let's see. It can do 35 kilometers per hour, and then it used to be 20. That's awesome. So yeah, like this Hover Air here. While we're waiting for Mr. Pierce to jump on, and no one has a specific question, we'll talk about the Hover Air. First of all, here it is. If you guys have wanted to see it in someone's actual hands, here are my hands. I don't have big hands. Here it is. It's tiny. Random rants. Yes, I want to race. I don't know how fast it goes. I can't remember. I read about it. It will boost up to really, really fast. So here it is. It's tiny, and then you boop like that. You hit this button, and you can change modes here. You don't even need to get your phone out, which is awesome. And it's super, super rad. I think it will actually go a little bit faster than the Neo at boost speed, but I don't know. Anyway, I'm not sure. I'm excited. I've been playing with it around here, and it's been really cool. So tonight will be the first test first of all, see if it fits in the pocket of my Wolf Vest, which I think it's going to. And then if it does, we're going to take it out, and hopefully we get some really cool shots. Let's see. Chris B. picked up a 950 Adventure a week ago. Sick. Those are awesome bikes. I got a 990 right over here that I love. Only difference between that and your 950 is fuel injection. 950s are great. The carburetors are kind of a pain to deal with at first, but once you get the thing dialed, it's awesome. So you'll be stoked. And yours is, being that it's older, it probably already has the carburetors dialed in. Kenneth Keller, I riding the WR or the Frantic. I will be riding the WR tonight because of the headlight. All right, seat time coming in hot. What is up, my man? You're in the green room. I'm adding you in. Boom! There you are. What is up? How are you, man?
Dude, I am clean. I literally, you were like, hey, you want to jump on the show really quick? I was like, I am actually literally getting in the shower. I was about to step in, It would have been dangerous to do that while on the phone, but I'm out of the shower, and I'm here now talking to you about dirt bikes. Apparently. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, Tom House says, do I prefer email or phone to discuss sending suspension? Email, well, I don't know. Actually, phone to the shop, which is 970-240-2197, or email, but every now and then the email does get dropped. So, let's talk, Mr. Brian Pierce, about what we were already talking about. Let these folks know what were we talking about this morning. Give them the rundown.
Oh, the text that I sent you?
Yeah.
Okay, do you want me to kind of give the why of the backstory?
Yeah,
okay.
Give the whole background. Let's talk about it.
I was in Ohio at the National Enduro, not this past weekend, but the one before that, right? And so if you want to see the whole shebang, that video is out on the Seat Time channel. But in the long run, in test 4, it got really hot, and I was really trying to give it, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden, I noticed the bike started making this weird popping sound. I was like, that doesn't sound good. But it was like a light poppy, almost like a backfire. And I was like, huh. And then all of a sudden, I noticed the clutch is feeling weird. I was like, dang. I was like, I'm pulling the clutch in really far, and it's draggy and stuff like that. I was like, what is happening? Then the clutch comes all the way back to the lever, and I'm like, oh God. And luckily, it happens right as I'm coming out of the test. The bike literally dies, in the tight turns. I couldn't even keep it rolling because of that. And so I boiled the clutch. Again, kind of figuring all this stuff out. So what I was reaching out to Morgan about was hey, I'm boiling my clutch. The bike's overheating, ... Many reasons we could get into. Ohio woods, no wind, blah, blah, blah. But I was like, will a fan on the radiator keep that cool enough to then cooler to go through the bike to then wind up actually making a difference at the clutch, right? Or was what I was experiencing such a problem that it really is heat bike, no wind, and then overuse of a hydraulic clutch in those scenarios. So that's what I was kind of trying to figure out. Like, should I be getting a fan, and is that money worth it for that type of a situation of boiling the clutch?
Right. And
Sorry if that was too much.
no, that's good. So the question is, did your bike ever overheat any coolant? Like, did it boil any
I
coolant?
never witnessed that, right? Like, granted,
Yeah.
no, was I looking at the bottom of my bike to see if the vent hose like actually had anything coming out of it? No, I didn't do that. And two, I did not notice any like besides the poppy sound, which again I can't say was or was not overheating. I never noticed any steam.
Gotcha. So my guess is that a fan would not solve that clutch problem because a fan will keep the bike from over. It will, so it might help, right, to keep the overall bike a little bit cooler. It might help a little bit. I would say it would definitely help some. I don't know if it would completely solve that problem though. If you're like super hard on the clutch in those conditions, I don't know if it's going to do it since the bike didn't overheat and boil over. Because that's really what you're trying to do with the fan is to keep that from happening. And
Right.
obviously that's all related, right? Like the overall heat of the bike. But I think, I mean, it sucks because you're riding hard and it like, But it's kind of a four-stroke thing. If you're really hard on the clutch, it's not good for those clutches. They get hot. Did the clutch come back after that test? After you waited for a little bit?
Yeah, so I tried to get out of there, right? And luckily it was kind of a straight line out of the test. So I just put it into third gear and kind of just like, lugged it to kind of like get myself out once I did get through the chute. And I just found somebody, and there was a rider support area right after that. And I looked for somebody with a water bottle in their hand. And I said, "Can I get an ice water?" And they were like, "Yeah, sure." I mean, I don't know who this person was, but thank you. And so I literally said, "I'm going to put half of it on the bike and half of it on me. Is that okay?" And they were like, "Yeah, that's cool." And so I just like took it, poured a little bit on the cylinder, or sorry, the master cylinder, and then poured a little bit on the slave cylinder, and then went to the other side and actually poured it like on the clutch side. Now on the engine, it's tough to say because it's the engine, the whole thing's going to be hot, but definitely on the slave side, and then obviously the clutch plate side, the clutch cover side, like it was boiling water. You know what I mean? Like when it hit, it was just like that makes sense, right? We know
Yeah.
in this scenario the bike's going to be hot AF. And then of course I poured it on my body and it felt like it was steaming just as much. But that's, I don't know if that's my stunning good looks or just the heat from the Ohio woods, but in the long run, there we are, right?
Yeah. So I think my personal thought on fans on bikes is that yes, everyone should probably have one. Unless you're racing motocross or desert where you're just like you're always going fast. I think everyone should have one because it helps with everything. Like to keeping especially a four stroke cooler than normal is always a good thing, right? Like always. I mean, unless you go way too cold, like snow bike, but we're not talking about that. But like, um, I think a fan is a good idea. Do I think it would have kept that from happening? I don't know.
Right. And that's the hard part too, like to build upon it. Like, again, like we talk about a lot of this in the video, minus the dissecting we're trying to do here, right? We're digging into this more, but it's like, I didn't have a brand new tire and it was an MX-34. It had rained an inch in Ohio, so it was slick as all get out, right? And what I would like, the way that I am like, even though I'm running a 1450, like, and it's a pretty low gearing, right? So I can kind of try to stay in third gear majority of the time, second when it's really tight. Like second's my first in the tight sections, so I don't have to worry about neutral. Like I could tell that I was just like using the clutch because I could never find that happy medium spot to lug well, if that makes sense. So I do know, and it just seemed that this test, so I had been doing all of that up until this fourth test we had just come out of. Well, what's interesting, I think it was a 7-mile test. We had just come out of the gas stop too. So it's like, but there's also the thing that we had just come off the road. So there's this like spot where maybe being on the road, even though it's a lot of air, higher RPMs just kind of like, you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, the bike would sit, but maybe it was still hot from like, again, there's just like so many awkward scenarios that it's like for test 4 to be the spot where it became a thing. And even though I did hear the sounds, if you will, the bike starting to pop again in test 5, I never got to the point where I felt like I was like losing the clutch or the ability to disengage the clutch like I did in test 4.
Right. Yeah. So Random Rants has a couple good things. How's the engine oil level? I'm sure it's good. I'm sure you just did a service right before
Yes,
that.
it was good. Yeah, and it had been new oil filter and new oil into this event.
Right. And then how old is the clutch fluid? My guess is obviously it's not terribly old. I mean, how many hours you got on it? Because it's a brand new bike, brand new, not anymore, but
Yeah, so I think now I'm at about 35 hours on the bike, and so and I have not, admittedly, I have not bled the clutch or the brakes because I kind of wanted to see like how this thing would go. Now I do think it's a great question because coming out of Georgia, like thinking back on all this stuff and how slick and I would have been almost the same conditions, except Georgia was way worse. I should have realized super muddy race, super hot bike, should have bled everything then. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
at about that 20 to 25 hour mark, especially after that. And I'm kind of at that point now where what I'm doing is it's about every 5 hours I'm changing the oil, about every 10 hours I'm changing the oil filter. And I think I kind of need to be like, okay, when I'm changing the oil filter, if nothing else, suck the oil out of the cylinders and it put new fluid in. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if nothing else. But probably every 10 hours I should be bleeding all 3 systems, right? Clutch and brakes.
Right. And using really good fluid like I don't know what they put in their stock. I'm sure it's fine.
Shoot, that's even a better point. Yeah. Who knows what's in their stock? Like, and it is still the stock.
The cheapest stuff that they can get because that's how companies work, right? You know,
I think they call that Motorex, right? That's what it's branded as.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, it's supposed to be Motorex. We'll see. Yeah, I know. I use brake fluid. I'm 100% Motul RBF 600 like on everything. 100%. And so that stuff has a high boiling point. It's really good. Anyway, that's brakes, clutch.
So you're saying that's Motul that you use for your 5.1 stuff everywhere?
Yep. Everything gets Motul 600. It definitely helps with brake fade and all that stuff. I've never really had too much of a problem with the clutch, except for when my KTM had problems, but that was a completely different situation where my crankcase seals were leaking and I was out of transmission. And then that was not good. 5280 says the popping been detonation. I guarantee you the popping probably wasn't detonation, but it was the bike being hot. Like when you get a bike really, really hot, it'll pop like it's lean and just do. I'm sure that's from that. Now, that might have been helped with a fan, right? Like to keep the whole overall engine temp down.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
that would help with the fan would help with that. And I'm just like I said, I used to be like anti-fan guy because it's like it's more weight and whatever. But now with as high zoot and high performance as all these bikes are, they are such tight tolerances, so much horsepower, so much everything on the things is just crazy tight. So keeping it cooler is always a good idea. In my opinion.
One thing that's interesting too is that Nick Farringer kind of watched a little bit of the video and read my article on Substack, and he even texted me. He goes, "Boiling a clutch? Like what are you on?"
Yeah,
I was like, "I'm on a 350," and he goes, "Oh, okay, that's actually something I've heard about." He's like, "I've never boiled a clutch," and he's like, "But the only people I've talked to that have boiled clutches are on 350s," and I was like, "Huh." Like, you know what I mean? So like, yeah. I wonder what that is, like if it's, and again, as we've discussed already, there were already so many scenarios that there's no one thing that we can really be like, it was this. But it is even more interesting that as somebody says that, again, it's a Nick Farringer, like he knows a lot of people, he's been riding a long time, that for him to be like, oh yeah, no, like 350, okay, now it makes a little bit more sense because that's historically he's heard of that. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, huh, so what is about 350 that could be this like middle ground that maybe that is a thing?
Right. Well, and one thing it could be with the 350 is that the thing does make a lot of horsepower, but it doesn't quite have the torque of the 450, and so you're using the clutch a little bit more to get that, like Whereas does Farringer ride a 450? Is he on a 450?
No, he would have been on his. He's been on a 300 two-stroke
Oh,
Sherco
okay.
for
Yeah.
a handful. I mean, he's ridden.
Yeah.
He has a 500 that he says he dual sport. You know, he says dual sports. That's probably hard enduro was for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think that's the four-stroke he rides.
Yeah. So yeah, like what I've noticed is I'm kind of terrible on the clutch on my four stroke because I'm so used to a two stroke for so long, so many decades of riding two strokes, where and on a two stroke you can beat the living crap out of a clutch on a two stroke and it won't get super hot. It takes a long time to heat a two stroke clutch up because the engine is separate from the transmission, right? Like that is separate, and so like it doesn't. Anyway, so that thing like it just is different on a two stroke, so you can beat on them and they don't make the torque, and then whereas four stroke guys generally are way less on the clutch, like way less on the clutch.
Yeah, unless you're Eli Tomac, I like that RJ.
Yeah, dude. Oh yeah, Roger. Yeah, ET needs a friend. So does Deegan, man. Like, I mean, and then Scotty Poof or Scooty Poof, which is funny. Does anyone run two fans? Cody Webb does have two fans on his 250 four stroke now, which is like because after the first day of Silver Kings or maybe whatever the first mountain day of Silver Kings, he put a second fan on because he overheated that Yamaha. But I don't know. I've talked to him a little bit about that. I think big boring a bike, it's really cool and fun and whatever. The problem is you're big boring a bike that wasn't designed for that, and so you're making everything thinner. Therefore, it's going to get hotter. And I like Johnny Walker's Triumph didn't overheat at all, like not once at Erzberg. And he finished sixth. First of all, he finished the thing. He finished sixth at Erzberg on a 254 stroke with zero issues of overheating on a completely stock motor. I watched. I really believe him that motor was bone stock, like stock mapping, stock everything. So yeah, it. Anyway, so I think there's a couple things. The other thing is you might look at your clutch plates and see how they are after that Georgia round. You might have glazed them up, which then is going to make them slip a little bit more, which then is going to make them hot a little bit more, and all those things. You know, the moto guys they change clutches between motos. I mean, I'm not.
I know that. Like I don't have the time nor money for that. And probably not.
We don't need to. We don't beat up.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, like even though I did that, like sure, it might have pulled half a millimeter off from where it was, but it is the plate thickness, right? Like that's in the manual, right? Like the tolerances for what it should be. So if I do open it up and measure a plate and stuff like that, just to see like, and then to your point about it being glazed, like dumb question, but like, well, what does that look like? You know what I mean? Like that's just something that feels like something like you kind of need to know what you're looking for versus like, hey, is your clutch plate glazed?
So the thing you're looking for on that is the friction plates probably won't look much different. I mean, unless you really cooked them, which you might have. But it's the steel plates will get all blue and like not silver colored anymore, and that usually means just like your brake rotor, right? And if your brake rotor gets all blue and hot and whatever, that means it's probably glazed the pads too. Now, on a brake pad, you can pull it off and it'll be real shiny, like the pad will be super, super shiny, and you don't want that. You want a real matte finish on a brake pad. Yeah, really hard to see that in oil on a clutch because
it's wet.
So like, but you can definitely see the steels will be super blue, and there's not a lot you can do other than just replace them. You know, unfortunately, if they're super gnarly, you could go and get a machine surface and like surface each one and like with some sandpaper. My God, like how much is your time worth? But like you could do that, or you could just buy a new set of clutch plates if they're bad, and they may not be bad. But as hot as you got it, my thought is that you might be dealing with some super warped plates now too, right? You could have some plates that are,
if I notice that the clutch still seems to be funky, like when I go ride this weekend or something.
It's dragging, like when you pull it all the way in and it wants to drag, that means that the plates are warped, and so they're not releasing all the way.
Okay. Well, wait, I'm gonna try to go ride on Sunday, so like that'll just be one of those things while I'm out there. It's like, okay, bleed the clutch, bleed the brakes. How does the clutch feel now? And if it feels normal, then I'm probably good. And if there's any hesitancy or just like I want to see, dig in, like open the thing up and at least start looking at the plates.
Yeah, for sure.
I saw Jay Wild ask of keeping the radiator clean, dude, as much as possible, right? Like it was a mud race, so and obviously like it's not like a GNCC where you're coming through every lap, and these guys are clean, and like people can clean their bikes off, like I do know that the pros can do that, right? They're at the rider support areas. I don't think that they had pressure washers by any means like the GNCCs, but they definitely had mud scrapers and all that kinds of jazz. So they're in a spot where they could clean off the radiators a little bit more so that they could be more efficient. But it definitely makes me feel like, again, the concept is to make it to all the national enduros, do the best that I can. I'm now learning that on this 4-stroke, even when I head to the Northeast where it may seem cooler, it's still hot, it's still humid, there's no wind in these woods, and the bike needs to perform. And as it gets more and more hot, it's not going to be able to do that. So putting the fan on makes the most sense for the conditions and what I want to get out of these events.
100%. Couple questions here. Does it make a difference if the fan's on the left or right? It doesn't, unless one side has worse airflow because of your tank. Like, so if you have a tank that comes down really close to a fan, or to a radiator, like, and the fan would be in there, it can't pull and push through as good. So that might make a difference. Like on my Beta, it made more sense to put it on the left than on the right. I think it was because the tank on the right came down. I forget. Anyway, so you want it on the side that has the best flow. Another massive thing, actually, this is funny. I learned this with my buddy Richie, who works on betas, and his wife raced for beta. Anyway, if that fan isn't seated tight against the radiator, you're not getting efficient pull. Like if it's backed off and there's a gap at all between the shroud and the fan, you're not getting nearly the draw through the thing. So you want to make sure that fan sits tight against the radiator, that the shroud that's around the blades is actually touching the radiator or as close as humanly possible. Because if it's off just the littlest bit, it won't draw air through it nearly as fast. So it's actually makes a big difference. I didn't know. When you start to think about it, it makes sense. But yeah, so that's something to pay attention to. A couple more questions, and then we'll get to the fan that I talked about. 5280, what are your thoughts on Recluse manual clutch? Comes with 12. I've used Recluse manual clutches. They're really, really cool. I found, though, that if you're hard on clutches, you will ruin a Recluse clutch faster than you'll ruin anything else. Because the plates are so thin, they can't take any extra heat, and they'll warp and do all kinds of stuff. Like, because the way they get 12 instead of 8 is that they make everything skinnier. And so because of that, you can run a lighter spring and get the same amount of friction. But anyway, all those things. But I personally am not a huge fan because I've ruined one on a bike and it was a pain in the butt. Eric Bryan, do you know Eric Bryan?
I was noticing that last name does look familiar and everything.
He's a fast dude from Oklahoma, so he said he wore out clutches on his 350s pretty quickly. He said Recluse said that 350s are hot on clutches, so there you go. Another.
Yeah, I wonder if it is a little bit of that. Like, do they use a 250 to make a 350, or do they use a 450 to make a 250? You know what I mean? And it could be like a little bit of that, and then the extra stress, like you talked about, from it being made to be one thing, but then it's kind of like it's not big board to it, but in the long run, it is maybe to some degree. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely, because they might. Yeah, I don't really know, but they might use a 250 clutch setup, and then. But it makes more horsepower. So, yeah, Random Rants is talking about how they're high strung, like a works bike, because they do make. I mean, they're 50 something horsepower, I think, out of the 350, right?
Yeah, like I don't know that I've wrung that thing out, and by no means am I like a balls to the wall rider either. But like it's got more than I need. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah,
or desire to use.
Yeah. So now let's talk about fans. So, Brian, what bike are you on again?
So I'm on the 24 EX350F gas.
Which is the same as the XC KTM.
Yeah,
He,
23, I believe, is when they came out with the XC, right? 350, and they changed the frame and such. And then that's
yeah,
when that did well, that moved to the gas for 24.
right, and it's the same as like mine's a two stroke, but as far as the electronics on it,
Okay.
it's the same, and it's a honestly a crap stator. Well, it's a well built stator. It just doesn't have any extra juice. So that's one of the problems with those bikes. This bike is that it's really hard to get enough power out of the stator to run auxiliary things on them. So you do have enough extra juice to run the Tusk fan, or I think Extreme Parts, the guys out of Romania that helped me get my Fanic. I think they make a fan also that is a really light draw fan. But the Trail Tech one, if you have a Trail Tech fan on that bike and it runs long enough, it will drain the battery and you will be dead in the water wherever you sit.
That's
So
crazy. Yeah, that's
yeah,
crazy. Uh, is that a, this might be a dumb question, but is that in building all of this, is that a dumb, did Trail Tech screw up by making a fan that draws too much power? You know what I mean? Or is that just like they just keep doing what they've been doing over the years, and the stator being smaller just happens to not be able to keep up with the draw of the Trail Tech fan from the years that they've made the fan? Do you know what I mean? I don't know if I'm asking that
right.
right.
No, the Trail Tech fan has not changed. They've used the same fan forever and ever and ever. And they haven't changed it. And it's a great fan and it's robust and it lasts a long time and all that stuff. KTM Group just changed their stator, and on the XCs, the race bikes, they put a really low wattage stator, well, the whole setup, like the flywheel stator and everything. And because what that does is that it, like, not only does it make everything lighter, it helps the motor spins up a little faster than it did before because there's less magnetism and less, anyway, lots of things going on there that make the bike lighter and feel lighter and rev faster and all that stuff. So that's what happened, is that the KTM Group went for a lower wattage stator than they've ever used before, because they also, like, the XC line of bikes went from, it used to be that with an XC you could buy lights for it, you could buy this for it, you could put all this stuff in whatever. Dave Bauer, I have Trail Techs on all my 23 plus year bikes and had no issues to date. So that's good to know, David. But I watched everybody at Silver Kings. I watched everybody that had a Trail Tech fan on one of these bikes DNF because the thing was just running. It was the hard enduro, but the thing was just running all the time, and it killed the battery. And I had a Tusk fan on this thing, and it didn't. I ran all day and had no problems. So
And that's why you've seen some people put like an on-off switch for their fan, right? Is because it's like they only like really want to run it when they're like maybe sitting still or like taking a heavy breather, because it's like
right.
they don't want to draw.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because if you stop and that kind of thing goes, and you're like taking a break, especially it's the hard enduro stuff, right? I mean, you're not doing that in an enduro. You're not going to stop and take a break mid-test. I mean, hopefully,
Right.
but but so you're going to come out on the other side, no problem. So, like, I mean, honestly, with racing enduros, it probably doesn't matter that much, like, because you're probably going to be running hard enough and it's not going to be on all that much, so you're probably okay. But if it's me, I'm going to buy the thing that is going to make sure I don't DNF a race, right? Or you get the Stator Rewound by Ricky or Ricks or whatever. I've got one anyway.
Yeah.
And
I mean, is he literally, and again, this is my own ignorance, but is it, he just puts more metal on it, more copper on it, and like
yeah,
you get
just tighter
Stator?
windings. They just put tighter windings, like if you look at the Stator, you got all the little poles coming
Right.
out, and each one of those has windings on it. Well, not each one of those is a coil. There's like two coils for all those poles, right? All those poles, they go around and then to the next one, then to the next one, and so like on most Stators there might be two coils, like one for ignition and one for charging, or one for anyway, so yeah, they just take those coils off, the wires off, and then use either finer wire so it still fits, or they just wind it a little bit tighter and put a little bit more copper on there. And that's the thing with these bikes, is that there's not a lot of room, so they can only get you like about 70 watts of extra power. So you still can't do like Baja kind of like lights and fan and like.
That's because of the room that KTM has now given in that area, right? Is
right, that room in that area inside the flywheel and all that. There's just only so much space. So, yeah, it all depends. Like I said, probably so. David Bauer is ridiculously fast. He's a friend, and he's really really fast. And he does ride some hard enduro every now and then, Dave. But like, he also goes like hell everywhere else at RMEC and things like that. So I guarantee you, he's not going to have a problem with overheating most of the time, because he also races out west here. So he doesn't race back east like you're doing with all that mud and all that like slow, tight, stuff. So I mean, the Trail Tech fan would probably be okay 99.999% of the time. I would just worry if it ran long enough, it might kill the battery. So I would run either the Tusk or get the thing rewound so you can run it.
And I got another kind of like dumb question. Like, if you were to go look at the products, like say we went to Rocky Mountain ATV and like looked at the Tusk fan and then looked at the Trail Tech fan, like would it tell us the draw? Like,
I don't think Rocky Mountain's not going to tell that to you. They're not going to have that information, unfortunately. But well, like Moto Minded is a great source of information.
Call Taco Moto, that's really good too. Yeah, Chris would be a good one at Moto.
Call Chris. Call Mike. Mike's obviously, well, they're both really good with the Austrian group bikes because that's what they really focus on. But yeah, you can call those guys up and be like, hey, what's the story? What's the wattage? What's the all that stuff, and figure it all out, because they'll know for sure. But yeah, on Rocky Mountain, I don't think they're gonna list the draw on it. I just know from dealing with this bike that when I was looking into it, no one made a fan for it at first. No one still. I don't think they still make a fan, like a dedicated fan for a 23 XC 300. So I had to buy the one for the 22 that was an auxiliary that, anyway, whatever, and put that on there, and it fits just fine, whatever. But and I already done the research to find out that this thing, the Trail Tech fan, pulls like 15 watts, which is like half of what the Trail Tech does. And so that worked out. And then I thought, well, it was all BS. So I put a light on this bike too, and was like, hey, light, fan, whatever, no problem. And I went out and ran it here, and it was no problem until I went to ride with my kid one day up in Grand Junction. It was 100 degrees outside, and I was like, you know what? Let's test this thing. So I turned the light on. It's bright daylight. Turned the light on and rode, and that fan turned on and ran. And it killed the battery. Like it smoked it. So I turned all that off, bump started the bike, and was, whatever. It was fine. But I ended up getting this Stator rewound so it could run it without any issue.
Without any issues, yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So I think that's a great idea. I'm gonna reach out to Chris at Moto Minded and just be like, just kind of like, lightly write it up in an email and just like, what do you recommend? Morgan's recommending the Tusk. Like, it's not that I don't trust Morgan, but like, tell me more. That might just be a good story to kind of like go through with this and stuff. And then in the long run, maybe make a small video about kind of like what happened, what we think we're going to do, this, that, the other.
Yeah. And so David just mentioned, I have nothing against the Tusk fan. So here's the thing. I will say 100%, like the Tusk is a lot cheaper than the Trail Tech. The Trail Tech setup is way more like clean and sano on the bike, way more. And then the thing, and I've talked about this in lots of videos, the thing about the Tusk fan is the controller totally sucks. Like, you either get a good one or you don't get a good one right off the bat. Like, and then sometimes they can go bad like afterwards. Like, so I've had that controller. It's it's the thing with the temp sensor. Well, the sensor.
Yeah.
I've had them just fail, so then they don't work, and then I've had them like sit here and just turn on, You're like, so you can drain a battery. Like, it is the weak point of the system, 100%. Like, the Trail Tech is a much nicer product. It's just that it draws more power, right?
Yeah.
And I actually tried. I did a whole thing. I didn't film it because it ended up being I filmed it. I deleted everything because it was a nightmare. But I tried to use the Tusk fan with the Trail Tech controller, and it wouldn't work. They've done something, like Trail Tech has done something with their controller electronically that it will not work with the Tusk set, like others, like ancillary stuff. Like it's actually, I think it's the temp sensor. And then
they know that quality, and they're making sure that their quality stays their quality. Right. Which hey,
I really wanted that light pull fan, but their controller on the bike. That's what I really wanted because it would be better. So if anybody out there knows how to fix that, let me know. Also, Kyle Kuhn said you can call True North also. True North Motos up in Washington. They're really, really good at doing cool electronic stuff too. But and then there's another possibility, and I don't know, that maybe the gas got a higher wattage stator. I don't know. I kind of doubt it. That seems
The only thing that I've heard from all the differences in the bikes was talking with Josh Toth a little bit. He says that the gases will stall easier because the airbox is a little bit different. And that is to me. And so if it's going to stall a little bit easier, does that mean that it could run a little bit hotter because of that little bit of lack of airflow? Again, it's like, and I think for someone like myself or like you, I don't think we would ever notice that. You know what I mean? I think for a Josh Toth, I think that that if they're really looking for airflow into the bike for power and performance, sure. And he spent a lot of time on those gases, right? Before he got on the Cowies. So, but yeah, I don't think something like that would be specific. But since we're kind of like talking about all the weird little differences and nuances, that was another one that kind of came up in all of this between, white, orange, and red.
Right. And John Crawford, Jay Wild asks, is the WR Stator big enough for a fan? I'm like, yeah, the WR Stator.
Dude, that thing would run my van.
Yeah, it's sick, dude. Like I gotta let you ride that bike. Like that motorcycle. I hate to admit how much I like that 4-stroke. It is
before we went like air quotes like KTM and stuff like back in the day. Like that's what Dad and I always ran were WR 250s and stuff like that. And we had built big board a couple and things like that. And just to your point, exactly what you said earlier, as we started going up and up from a 250 to a 270 to a 290, we just started blowing bikes up. And it was because they're just like, you just have to be more diligent because they're not made for that. And so we were like, and it was we KTM for a while, and then obviously the Sherco for hundreds of hours. But
because people want me to do a big bore, the WR to kind of match the Fantic 310 to see if that would be the match. But because I mean you could do a big bore on that WR, buy the bike, do a big bore, and still be way less than the 350. I mean, way less than the 350 Austrian bike as far as money. But I don't know if I want to do it because like I don't want to compromise any kind of reliability that the Yamaha has. And I don't know. I'm so blown away with that thing. Like I wrote it. There's a video coming out and probably it's already done and up, but it'll publish next week, the week after. Anyway, of me riding that thing up nasty switchbacks up Nate Creek Trail. Like, and a 250 like with me on it, I'm a big dude, like no problem at 11,000 feet. Like, so I just don't know if I need any more power. I think
I will say the one thing that's been interesting, a lot of people have asked me, like, do I like the 4-stroke? Having come from a 2-stroke and from different bikes too. So there's like so many things like this. I was on an 18 Sherco 300. So not only a 2-stroke, not only a 300, but also a very old, all the things, right? This 4-stroke is not fun. The times that I go ride with my son, I do not want to ride this motorcycle because it is not a trail riding bike. It is a performance racing bike. And I dislike that. And that's where I'm like, do I miss a 2-stroke? Yes. Because I could race a 2-stroke and I could ride a two-stroke. I don't want to ride this bike. This bike wants to be ridden, and this bike wants to be raced, and it wants to be ridden extremely fast and hard for it to feel fun. And I'm working on a video that kind of goes into a lot more of the details behind that and stuff. But as we're kind of like, diving into different aspects, like that's one thing that I think has been an interesting learning. And I didn't think that about my XC 350 that I had. That was a 15. Now, granted, again, we're talking an 8-year difference. So a whole nother mini cycles of bike iteration, engine iteration, and all that kinds of stuff. So it does make me wonder, like, for the people that just want to trail ride, that might want to race every now and again and have a performant bike, I think like the XCW is probably where that person should go. And the XC is a race bike, like, or in this case, the EX, but still, like,
yeah. The or like I said, my WR, dude, I freaking love trail riding that thing and racing it. I raced it for 6 hours in Utah. It was awesome doing that, and it is hilarious. Just trail, like, I'm gonna ride it tonight because it's got the big light on it and all that. But like, I don't know, man. I have gone away from the Austrian world. Like, I just am. Like, I love the bikes, and I miss, like, I really wish I could ride this 300 because it's so freaking good. But man, I don't know. Like, I like that Yamaha so much. It's so much better than like the Fanic as far as just like cruising around and riding. Even though the Fanic's a two-stroke, the Fanic clutch is not that great, and yeah, it's super. I love riding the Fanic because I like the chassis and I like the horsepower and all that. But like, man, the WR is just easy to ride. It's just freaking easy to ride. Like, it's crazy how, it's fun.
Yep. So, well, cool. Well, I gotta stay at work, and I appreciate you letting me jump on to be able to talk about all that stuff. Again, like, if anybody wants to know a little bit more about the race, definitely on the Seat Time video, I've got 2 videos from the Ohio National Enduro, Little Raccoon. Amazing experience. So go check those out. There's a race recap and a full POV if you want to look at the A/B test, the A only test.
And it's just youtube.com/seat time, right? There it is. So yeah, go check it out, guys. We're gonna end this thing. Brian, I love you. We will have to let's get together. I'm gonna do a trip east eventually.
I'm telling you, if you want to, I think the Gobblegetter would be fun. Like, if you can make it to Lead Belt in Missouri, which is in September, or Gobblegetter in November, those would be awesome. I have not been to Indiana, which is around the MXDN. So again, that could be a cool road trip for you. Come race the National Enduro on Saturday and then go to MXDN, MX Nations on Sunday.
Yeah, I know. I think November is going to be a crap show. I don't think I can do that, but September might happen.
September, Lead Belt. You will enjoy it. I've got a Lead Belt video when I did it last year. It's got the waterfall that I crashed on, but many awesome videos from the pros actually riding it proper. They're out there. That would be a good one. You'd enjoy that, and it's an ass kicker. Like, nice. It's a proper enduro. They'll kick your ass in the A only section.
I like it. Right on, guys. Thanks so much, Brian. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And as always, I desperately hope that what we're doing here at Highland Cycles is inspiring you guys to work on, but way more importantly, get out and ride your dirt bikes!